All right, we are back on Steel City. I'm your host, Andre Duke. Just checking in, seeing how everybody's doing this evening. That's kind of what we're doing. The Steelers take on the Patriots this weekend. Just looking at that, just seeing how what's everybody's gauge on this upcoming game. We got some other Steeler notes that we're gonna get to. Um, just just looking at it, uh trying to get the links tweeted out. That is the biggest thing, so people on other platforms can find us. That is that. But how is everybody's Thursday going? The Bills taking on Miami tonight. Buffalo, big time favorites. I know everybody's going to be jumping at the horn to watch that on the Amazon platform. Also, we're going to open the phone lines a bit tonight. Just doing that. But yeah, we'll get right into it here in a second. Just some of the other interesting NFL notes throughout the day. Cardi B and Stefon Diggs are going to have a baby, I guess. Congratulations on that front of it. So there's that. I don't really know what the deal is. Don't know how that's NFL news, but ESPN's got that plastered to the front page of the thing on their website. So there's not a whole bunch of really big things going on outside of that. I guess Lamar Jackson was unaware of what he was doing on Monday night. So there's that. But Dolphins Bills tonight, not looking great for the Dolphins. Hate to say that. Some other big games going on this week. I think fascinating game is going to be New England, Pittsburgh, obviously. Pittsburgh favored by 1.5. Should find that very fascinating in itself. So there's that. But also one of the things I want to get to is Dale Lawley, longtime Pittsburgh reporter, covered the Steelers for almost, I think, for over 30 years. Passed away yesterday. Just a interesting thing. Dale, I believe, was 56. So all his work and contribution that he gave to the Steelers, that is just something to be said there. But just wanted to get that up front and out of the way first. Appreciate everybody who's watching on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. That is what we have going. But like I said, it is going to be a rough one for the Lawley family. Hopefully they can get through it. Thoughts and prayers with those folks. So there is that. But yeah, for the majority of it, one of the big things that stuck out to me were MVP odds coming into this week. Obviously, Josh Allen and Lamar leading the way, but Justin Herbert coming in out of nowhere, going to be a favorite to be an MVP candidate. I find that interesting, to say the least. Jordan Love, obviously, in there. Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield. I'm surprised Baker's not really higher on this list, because depending upon how it shakes out in Tampa Bay, I say they win the division again. Jalen Hurts, I think what's going to hurt him, no pun intended, is going to be his I guess, lack of passing numbers, to say the least. I think that once he gets to that, I think the Eagles will go deep in the playoffs again this year. Just something that I'm predicting. Dak Prescott, don't know how that's going to shake out. Mahomes is way down on the list. Stafford obviously in there, but I think the Rams will be good this year. Goff, I don't know if he can recreate the magic. There's that, and then also Kyler Murray, another one on the list. I don't understand why they would put Kyler Murray there at plus 5,000. It's whatever. I mean, I'm not the guy who made the list, but there is that. But yeah, so there's kind of where we're at. I guess the Steelers added somebody that was an ex-Patriot. There is that, but nothing really too crazy coming out of Pittsburgh. I guess we could go over the injury report really quick. There's only a couple folks that have been ruled out of significance. Alex Highsmith is not going to play this Sunday. Gary Dulac of the Post-Gazette reported that. That came out a couple of days ago. Joey Porter, Derek Harmon, and Deshaun Elliott are all listed as questionable. I would say they'll be game time decisions. But one of the interesting things going into this, the Steelers play this game against New England. They play this game against New England. Change the subject. How about those Guardians? Oh, come on. It's football season. Football season, Steve. But I think the Steelers have a very interesting stretch in the next 3 games. They got New England at home. They got New England on the road, and then they go to Ireland. Tomlin is not any stranger to an overseas trip. The last time the Steelers played, I believe, overseas, they actually played the Vikings, and it ended up being a tie. I believe that was the year they started out 0-5 or something like that, and almost made the playoffs. But that's just kind of what it is. They got the Ireland trip that's coming over or coming up. I find it fascinating that they have all of those games kind of sprinkled together. And then they got Minnesota, Cleveland, Cincinnati. Their weeks it's going to be a tough stretch, just for the simple fact of the tough stretch that's going to be for this is they have New England this Sunday, then they go to Ireland, come back, play Cleveland, and then they have a short week. Going into Cincinnati, but for all intents and purposes, Cincinnati is going to be not what you thought they were going to be, just for the simple fact of Burrow being out. I think Burrow's going to miss 3 months. So there is that. Also, if you're watching on TikTok or Twitter, hit the YouTube button and come on over to YouTube. And also the phone lines are open. If you want to call, you can call in. I will leave for the last segment for that. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And then looking at some of the numbers, going forward, I think one of the bigger things that the Steelers are going to have to do is they're going to have to figure out how to run the football and take some of the pressure off of Aaron Rodgers. That is the big thing. They haven't ran the ball great all year, comparative to the league. I think that coming into this game, I think that one of the things that Vrabel's going to do is take that run away. Although New England hasn't really established a huge run presence themselves, but I think that there's something to be said there. If whoever can run the football in this game, I think is going to be the ultimate winner. That is just something to be said. And New England they're about 42% conversion rate on third down. I think that one of the big things that Tomlin's going to try to do defensively is get Drake May behind the chains consistently and make him pick up 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, seeing how that is going to go. New England on the ground. Nate here, Steelers defense needs to change something major. I think a lot of it is just alignment. And also, I think the first couple of weeks, Kenneth Walker's probably going to be a Pro Bowler. He'll probably run for 1,000 yards as long as he stays healthy for the most part. I think if it'll be a big test if the Steelers can go in there and shut down New England's run game. I think that's going to be a big issue of it. Also, no special teams blunders as well. I think that has a lot to do with it. That's just something that, the Steelers have to get corrected. But I think that, New England is giving up 31 points, 23 and a half points a game to opponents. So New England's only given up 5 touchdowns this, that Nate says, Pittsburgh's offense needs more play actions and less Gainwell outside zones. I'm not going to say that I disagree, but I think they have to establish the run more than anything. I think they have to get something established on the ground so it's just not looking as putrid as it has been. That's just, my opinion, but I think if they can get in there and run the football for positive yards, average, 4.5 yards a carry, that wouldn't be bad. Completely agree, but Johnson has so much more upside with carries than Gainwell. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Should I start Coleman, Hubbard, Moore as my flex, Breece? I agree with you, Nate. Yeah, Johnson should be getting more carries. I think that I agree with that. I think that there's a lot to be desired there, but and in typical Tomlin fashion, typically he always finds the answer to the problem of the solution a little bit late. I think there's something to be said there, but that's just kind of how it's been going. But Debo or Keon Coleman for flex, I don't know. Probably Keon Coleman since he plays tonight. Whatever. But I think back on the New England side of things, it's very fascinating. And as always, we have the way too early mock draft. I found one of these. Nussmeier, the number 1 overall pick. I think that is going to change. Now, Peter Woods, I think, can be up there. Lenoris Sellers going to the Jets. You would literally be drafting a Justin Fields for a Justin Fields. Now, Caleb Downs, I can get behind that. Kalen Proctor, I can get behind that. Trade Saquon for Moore, London, and McCaffrey. No, I wouldn't trade Saquon Barkley. I don't. Why would you do that? Also, the phone lines are open. The number to call is 260-255-4069. That is what we're doing here tonight. The phone number is up, posted. If you want to call, get your call in. Genty or Pickens as my flex? Probably neither, because Genty's not had a great start to the season, and I don't trust George Pickens. So there is that. Jeremiah Love being a Bear, I wouldn't be shocked by that. They got the Steelers drafting Drew Aller. Not a big fan of that one. Although it would be funny, a Cleveland kid and comes and blossoms in the NFL for the Steelers. Now that is something to get behind. Egbuka or Tyreek Hill. I don't know if you've been watching what's been going on in Miami. I think if they get their doors blown off tonight, it's going to be interesting, to say the least. I just find it fascinating. Pick one running back. Do you have serious injury concerns about Josh Jacob and Tyler Warren's injuries? Not really, because the thing of it is, in the NFL, opposed to college, the NFL has to disclose injuries, just point blank period, or they get fined. So there's that. So whatever they tell you is most likely accurate. So there is that. Just looking, Quinshon Judkins this week. I don't know who the Browns play, but that's something. Pick one running back at flex: Johnson, Garrett Wilson, or Rome Odunze. I would probably take Garrett Wilson. He has the most upside, and he has a lot of experience with Fields. But also, if you're watching on Twitter, come on over to the YouTube side of things. The phone number is posted. If you want to call, get your call in now. The phone number to call is 260-255-4069 if you want to call. That is what we have going. So there is that. But yeah, but as far as the mock draft, Carnell Tate, I'm not shocked as a first-round pick. Looking at a lot of this, A.J. Harris out of Penn State, Nicholas Singleton. I think Nicholas Singleton will have probably have a pretty decent career. Caleb Banks, that's been injured, is something. I traded Terry McLaurin. I wouldn't have traded Scary Terry, but that's just me. James Conner or Hampton. I would go Hampton just for the simple fact of you don't know if James Conner is going to get hurt, but there is that. I guess we can do the station break. What is going on with the Steelers? Why can't they run the ball and they can't tackle? Well, that's also something that has been going on. But I think the tackling is not just isolated to the Steelers. I think it's going on around the league because they don't tackle in practice. And that is a fact. That's something that does go on. They don't tackle in practice. So, but as far as running the football, I think it's more of a scheme issue and a personnel thing, because I think that I told people at the beginning of the year, I think that they need to play Caleb Johnson more, and I think the run game's going to depend upon how much success they have on it, is if they can get him going, because the kid runs hard. That's the thing of it. The defense, I think the first couple weeks in the NFL across the board, the defenses aren't very good because they're not used to tackling. And then when you quit tackling in practice, I don't know what you expect it to be on the positive end of it, because they just do not tackle in practice. And I think a lot of that is the muscle memory thing, and that's just kind of what it is. But yeah, but I appreciate everybody watching. If you can do me a favor, watching on Twitter, come on over to YouTube and hit that like and subscribe button. Also on TikTok, if you hit the link in the bio, it'll take you straight to the YouTube channel. And Steel City is normally The NFL shows normally about 6:30. I let it run for a half hour. Last 10 minutes, I take a bunch of questions and we let the leave the phone lines open. So there's that. If you want to call, get your call in. The number to call is 260-255-4069. That is the number to call. Stephon Diggs, Isaiah Pacheco, Christian Kirk, Juwan Johnson, flex spot. Probably Pacheco is kind of where I would let that land, in my opinion. Yikes. I'm a lifelong Steelers fan in the past 5 games of the 2024 season. These games have been painful. Well, at a certain extent, what did you think was going to happen when you had the Kenny Pickett years? And plus, I go to Pittsburgh every year. So, and hopefully in the next couple of years, I will finally have my season tickets. But that's just something that is going on. Appreciate the follow there, Original Rico. But yeah, I think the Steelers trying to be optimistic. I think the defense will figure itself out. I think the defense will figure itself out. Offense is going to be, I think it's going to be a work in progress. I just feel like Arthur Smith has so much personnel that they're trying to work out early in the season. Just something to be said there. I don't think that, because they run a lot of double tight end, 3 tight ends, there's a lot of tight end action going on. I would have thought Roman Wilson would have gotten a little more run by now in the offense, but I think that Arthur Smith is being cautionary by rolling the offense out slowly. I just don't think that he's just going to throw everything out there in week 1, week 2. You got to remember there's got to be a break-in period, because just for the simple fact of you have a new quarterback, you basically have a new backfield, no more Najee Harris. You got new receivers taking on new roles. I'm not making excuses. I'm just kind of saying these are facts as the Thursday night football coverage is getting on. But yeah, that's kind of where that is at. We will leave the phone lines open for rate my team for the week. Mahomes, I don't know. It just depends on what Mahomes does. And if Odunze catches a touchdown, I think you're in like Flynn. But leave the phone lines open for a little bit longer. If you want to call, get your call in now. I'm not really on too much of a time crunch at the moment. Appreciate the follow. Also, if you hit the link in the bio and come on over to YouTube, we're doing the college football show here in a few, and the phone lines will be open for that as well. I'm usually pretty... Yeah, a lot of people want them to win. I mean, it's, help Bucky and Dak for Josh Jacobs, Pickens, and Kyler. I'm not starting Dak currently. I would get rid of Dak because I feel like he is old Prescott is over the hill. And plus, I'm just not a Cowboys fan. I just not. Appreciate the follow, John G. But yeah, Pearsall for Jay Warren. I would roll Harold Fannin. That's just me, but there's a lot that goes into the whole fantasy thing. I think whenever it comes to drafting fantasy football, a lot of people will probably disagree with me on this, but all I'm saying when it comes to fantasy football is that when it comes to drafting receivers, just draft based upon how many targets they got last year. That helps a lot. And how many carries. I take carries for running backs, carries plus receptions plus targets. Would you start Kincaid or Fannin? I would probably roll Fannin, to be honest. I mean, Kincaid, the big thing with Kincaid is that I think Fannin gets you more yards, but Josh Allen, the reason why I would lean away from Kincaid is because I don't know if he's always going to get the ball down inside the red zone. But tonight, since I said that, he'll probably catch a touchdown and have like 80 yards. Coleman, Q, Moore, JSN. Start Coleman over. I'm assuming you're talking Travion Henderson. I don't know. It typically when it comes to the Steeler games, since the Steelers have been bad on defense for 2 weeks, I don't surely see how that is going to how that's currently, if it's going to be a whole issue all year, but I would kind of shy away. I'm not a big rookie running back guy anyway, so that's just me. Also, if you're watching the Thursday night football coverage, it's pretty cool what they got going right now. They're showing Pinto Ron, one of the Bills fans. I don't know if you guys are big Bills fans or not, but I'm not anti other team fan bases except Baltimore. I am not a big old Ravens fan by any means. The Steelers can't afford to play like this, like they did the week against Seattle and the hated Ravens. Yeah, I got that. There is that. Also, hit the link in the bio, and if you want to, you can call in the number and talk Steelers. Since you're the only one in the TikTok chat talking Steelers, I got about 10 or 15 minutes before I got to get ready for the college football show. But if you call in, right, I understand you on that. But if you want to call in and talk Steelers, the number to call is 260-255-4069, and I'll give you some airtime, and we can rehash a little bit of last year if you want to. But there is that to be said. Got a little time here before I got to roll to the college football show, and then I'll be back live on TikTok here in a few. But I'll be wearing something different, and it will be just talking college football. Also, Charlotte and Rice are kicking off tonight. I know everybody's real excited about that. But there is that. That's what we got going. It would be ugly as bad enough last year. Oh yeah. But yeah, that's kind of where we are. That's kind of where we are at. Swift, AJ Brown for Jonathan Taylor. I don't know about that. That's kind of rough. So, but we are approaching the 30-minute mark. I guess with that, we could pretty much close up shop. I don't know when I'll be live tomorrow. Start 3, Keon or Lad, probably Keon, to be honest. Lad McConkey's going to catch a lot of balls, but I like Matthew Golden. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. I think that Marvin Harrison or Jacoby Myers, Keon or Jerry Jeudy. I don't trust anything the Browns are doing. That's just kind of my policy. So there is that. But we're over the 30-minute. Do you think Mike T will be back in 2026? Yes, I do think Mike T will be back in 2026. but you can call in and ask me those questions because I'll leave it open for 5 minutes to give you a chance to call. And then we'll end the show. I got to get ready for the college football show. But there is that. Just looking at the Buffalo Bills tailgate. So there is that. Throw it out there one last time. Should I drop Ingram for Jake Ferguson? I don't know. I think you're really robbing Peter to pay Paul there, to be honest. I don't think you're really gaining much. Marvin Harrison Jr. or Jacoby Myers. I don't think one's significantly better than the others. Just look at the numbers on it. That's just kind of what it is. Green Bay Buffalo Super Bowl. I don't know if I trust Buffalo. I think the team in the AFC that is going to go to the Super Bowl is going to be unexpected, but I don't know if Green Bay can beat Philly. That's the problem. Kincaid or Laporta. I'd roll DK. Effing Ravens. No, I don't think the Ravens will be the toast of the town by any means. Let me just look real quick. Probably Kincaid, Harrison, or Jacoby Myers. In the AFC, who do I think can get to the Super Bowl? You want two hot takes on the Super Bowl? I think the Los Angeles Chargers can get to the Super Bowl. Over under 50.5. For tonight's game, typically with it being a short week, I would lean under because I think Buffalo is going to put a hurting on them. I don't know. I don't trust the Henderson. I don't trust it, but James Cook over 65.5 rushing yards. Yeah, I like that. I don't think Miami can stop anybody. I don't know how far that's going to get you. Ooh, that's a tough situation. Yeah. But I like the Chargers and maybe the Indianapolis Colts to get to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. But yeah, we've rolled it this long. Since I don't have any phone calls, I will close up shop pretty much for the evening. We'll be back live in probably 15-20 minutes talking college football since I don't have the phone lines. Nobody's called, so there's that. TikTok, I will check you guys later. And I will end the show, be back for the college football show in about 10 minutes. So peace. There is that. YouTube, appreciate everybody for tuning in and watching. We're going to go ahead and end it here for the NFL stuff. So there's that. Appreciate everybody. Hit that like and subscribe button. Help us grow this thing. And we will talk to you tomorrow.